So tell me again so I'm not confused. What is the exact official story about Antarctica? It is just a massive hellscape of wind, ice, rock, and snow with a few penguins and seals here and there and some whales offshore. That's the story. Well, the world is finally starting to wake up and say, hey, wait a minute. There might be a little bit more going on down there. How many of you remember not so long ago that the Iranians, out of nowhere, just came out and said, you know what? We're going to start conducting military operations in Antarctica, scientific expeditions, and pretty much whatever the hell we want to do, regardless of what any treaty says that we're not a party to, daring the U.S. administration to do anything about it. And they haven't done one single thing about it. Now, this is a follow-up video to what we talked about yesterday, this massive plume that came blasting out of Antarctica during the eclipse. Let me be very clear about what I'm saying. There have been a whole lot of different theories and speculations. Some have talked about impact craters and this type of thing. If there were a meteorite that had impacted here and caused this wave, these waves would have propagated out from the impact point because the energy would have come from the top down, from the surface of the water down. What you're looking at here is a massive plume of incredibly cold but fresh water that came out from underneath the glaciers in Antarctica and moved in the currents directly northward. Now, it came out so fast and it was so cold that it didn't have time to mix with the salt water, the seawater that was above it. So it pushed that seawater up. And then, when finally it made its way far enough away from Antarctica to begin to normalize with the temperature, all that seawater, all that, which is heavier, by the way, denser, collapsed into that field and sucked the atmosphere down with it, causing that wind field. That's exactly what happened. But those of you who want to check in on what Iran said, Iran declares Antarctica its property in direct challenge to Biden. This is on YouTube. This was not very long ago, 17 February 2024. They talked about all the different military assets they were going to be moving down there. Warships. Now, if it's just wind, ice, rock, and snow, why would they be setting up armed outposts, sending warships and drones and all sorts of different assets to that region? This is battlefield of the mind stuff. This is why we pay attention to stories like this and we don't really follow along with what the mainstream media said. Because clearly, they either don't know what they're talking about or they know what the truth is and they're hiding it. And they're trying to run out other things to make you kind of believe a narrative that just isn't true. If you'd like to get read in on this type of information, join us at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel, where it's only $1 per month. Now, in yesterday's video, I said we're going to have a video up next 24 to 48 hours. I was hoping to have it up by today. By tomorrow, for sure, we are going to have it up. Brand new video talking about, it's more of a domestic issue, but it's something that going up into the next election, they're going to heavily censor. That's why we have to use Vimeo. That's why we have to use Patreon. The little speed bumps that keep the censors from getting involved. That's critical. If you want the information, join us. $1 a month, $5 a month. All of it fully refundable. First 90 days, no questions asked. First 90 days, so nothing to lose. But the articles are out there if you'll look for them. What happened in Cape Town, the massive amount of damage, the fires, the wind, the floods. But this is 9 April 2024. The breathtaking pace of Antarctica warming is very, very worrisome. Now, this is Mother Jones. This is one of the most liberal, left-wing rags out there. Many experts now fear the UN has dangerously underestimated the threat, and they are correct. They are quite correct, and history shows it. What's going to happen is going to be catastrophic. But what's going to be left in the wake is going to be very, very interesting. People are going to start to see things. They're going to start to find things that they didn't expect. A single Antarctic heat wave or storm can noticeably raise the sea level. Well, what we know about water, finding its level, it always will find a way back down too, won't it? It'll just find other places to go. Heat wave in Greenland, storm in Antarctica, all these things happening at a more rapid pace. It's just going to continue to move farther and farther and farther inland on the continent of Antarctica. And as it melts things away, yes, it will raise the sea level temporarily in areas, but it'll always work its way back out just because of weight and pressure. And then you'll have events like this, these massive volcanic blasts that'll melt even more and cause huge shifts in the weather pattern. Ocean currents threaten to collapse. Antarctic ice shelf study finds if the haline cycle were to collapse, you'd see a lot more ice in the northern hemisphere. You'd see it all around where England is, Scotland, you'd see all that area. The reason that area is habitable, all that area up there around England, which is basically on the same line with Canada, northern Canada, is because of the haline cycle. So the ice will just displace. But what they'll find in Antarctica, when the melting's done down there, is going to rewrite history in a way that in a matter of 50 to 100 years, every answer you put down on a test when you were in grade school and middle school that got you an A will get you an F. Let me say that again. Every answer that you put down on a test, a history test, when we were 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, all those answers that got you either an A or a B will get you now a D or an F. That's how much it's going to change history. They're going to have to put asterisks by every single thing they used to teach. And this is an article that not a lot of people, when they read it, will really understand what it says until they think about it. Thousands of meteorites are vanishing in Antarctica. Now, the long and the short of it is this. They're black. They absorb heat. They're very small. They land on that giant white sheet of ice, and then they absorb heat and directly underneath them, and they just melt. They melt right through, and then, of course, the water rushes in, and they just sublimate. They sink literally into the ice, and this happens over and over and over again until they're literally out of the range of the sun. Now, if this is the case with meteorites over the last 50 to 75 years, what could have been the case over the last 500 to 700 years with things like cities and roads and bridges and even human remains? How many of you have read about the bog bodies that they find in England all the time? They pull up that are in pristine shape. Never knew were there. So I just wanted to cover this and, stay on top of it, because the Iranians, say whatever you want about them, they are not a frivolous people. The Iranians are not a group of people that just go off willy-nilly for no good reason and go do something. That's not a hallmark of the Persians. They are very thoughtful people. I don't agree with everything Iran does or its leadership does, but for whatever reason they do it, they have a well thought out reason. And for them to come out on a global scale, global platform, and say, this is what we're going to do. We're heading for this continent. We're going to do this, 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 and this. There's something going on. There is something major going on, and this is just more evidence of it. So I will leave it there. God bless all of you. Thank you guys so much. Battlefield of the Mind. Like I said, these videos are tough to do because even over here I have to watch a little bit what I say. But by tomorrow, we should have a brand new video up talking about, I'm glad I actually waited, because there was a press conference today with Mr. Trump and Mr. Johnson, the new Speaker of the House, and I thought it was very telling, and I'm going to include it. in tomorrow's video that I do at Patreon. Patreon only. It'll be for everybody. It'll be for the dollar level folks as well, because this is kind of an important thing, because there's been this old tete-a-tete going between a group in the House that plays themselves off as being the anointed representatives of the Trump movement. And they are allegedly fighting against this other group of Republican conservatives who are more aligned, I guess, is the accusation, with Democrats. Mr. Trump, however, came out today with Speaker Johnson and said that he stands with him. Now, he is seen by the Trump group as one of those people that are standing with the rhinos. So you'd have to ask, why? Why would Trump not have Marjorie Taylor Greene in a press conference? Why would he bring in Speaker Johnson? So I think I'll save that for you guys tomorrow. But I will leave it there. Pray for each other. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. Lift each other up. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.